Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Girls Like Hoops podcast. I'm Tori. I hope you guys are having a great week. First things first, like, subscribe, get in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts on things as we move through the topics for the week. Also, follow me on whatever you're listening to this on to stay up to date on new episodes. And if you don't want to follow me or subscribe, feel free to go over to Twitter. Actually, you know what? We're not even gonna say that. If you want to support me fully, go over to Twitter, go to TikTok. I'm usually always yapping over there. I always let you guys know when new episodes are out. And then I also just have like thoughts on the games. I usually live tweet games if I watch them. Or on TikTok, maybe there will be a crash out video here and there. I don't really be doing that too much, but like it's occasional. Anyways, but yeah, if you want to know my thoughts on something, feel free to comment somewhere on something and I'll let you know my thoughts if I have any. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for housekeeping. This week, we're going to talk about the All-Star game and obviously the skills challenge, the StudBudz, and then we're going to do a team-by-team breakdown of everything I think each team needs to make a playoff push post All-Star break. So without further ado, let's get into the basketball. First things first, my player to watch of the week. It was low-key my player to watch for the past 2 weeks because I didn't post last week. That's my bad. I was sleepy. I'm gonna be really real. I was trying to be a responsible adult and go to work and make it on time and get a check. So because YouTube, this doesn't pay me right now. We're not there yet. If you could help me get to 1,000 subscribers, that would be really helpful. But like, I'm not gonna beg, but like, I'm kind of begging. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. My player to watch for the past 2 weeks is gonna be Hillmon from the Atlanta Dream. I feel like she had a really great game versus the Valkyries. I think that was the game. Fingers crossed. I don't really remember anymore, but that was like so long ago. But she had a really great game. She played well, came up big. And I think, she just deserves her props. Like there's a lot of stars on the Dream and everything like that. But I think she's going to be a very pivotal piece to whatever they end up doing in the postseason. And we're going to talk about her a little bit more later. So not that much more, but she will be mentioned anyways. But yeah, definitely check her out in the upcoming games. I think she's a really great piece off the bench right now. And maybe, as the seasons move along, she'll be a piece, in that, a big piece of that core. So shout out to Hillmon. All right, next up we have, the Portland team has just recently, it was like last week. It wasn't that recent, but like it was kind of recent. They announced their name and everything. The Portland Fire. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not moved. But it's like there's only so many things you can do with a name. There's only so many things you can do with the name, and we can't all be Golden State Valkyries. Like that just made sense. Like the sister team to the Warriors, and I'm saying that as a Warriors fan, so maybe I'm biased, but Portland Fire. Okay, I did like that. The logo was like the rose on fire. I thought that was nice. That was cool. Outside of that, though, I'm not really moved. I know some people said they didn't really like the logo. They didn't like the lettering. I saw that in the comments and everything. But, hopefully the rollout from here on out is going to be a little bit more exciting. Like, I don't know. I feel like everything was like, last year was so exciting with the Valkyries and everything. Maybe it was because it was the first expansion team in a while. But, like, the tempo... I don't really like their logo. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing too much. Let me not do too much. I'm not moved right now, but I guess we'll see what happens. We'll see. I'm not really moved right now, but maybe it's just there's been like nothing coming out of like the Portland camp up until like that moment, and also previously that guy getting fired or whoever got fired. I don't even know who got fired, but I think that maybe that was just a rocky beginning. Maybe they're going to start rolling some things out, getting the excitement going. I feel like the Toronto tempo have really gotten, I don't know. I don't really know that the Toronto tempo is doing anything crazy, but it's also like, what can you do? You don't even have like players or really anything to get excited about. But I think Portland had like an event or something, to get some locals excited about the team. So shout out to them, I guess. Congrats to the Portland Fire. We're interested to see what happens with you next season, if there's another season, which leads me to the next topic. First off, the CBA negotiations. Streets are saying, and not even the streets, we're being openly told it's not going too great right now. It's not going too great. And first of all, I do want to say that I definitely stand on the side with the players. Of course, I definitely think they deserve more money and, they should be paid what they're owed. I thought, the t-shirt idea last night was a really great one. I also, thought the chants from the crowd, that was great. It was unexpected, it wasn't like a planned thing. So it was nice to know that, the people who showed up for the All-Star game and were in the crowd are supporting the league and everything and are supporting what the players are doing. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know the ins and outs of like, everything about the CBA and the negotiations, because obviously like a lot of the stuff like we can't know that at this time. But I definitely think that I've seen a lot of people's opinions about it, and obviously a lot of people stand on the side of the players, some people don't. And I've seen a lot of posts about it today on TikTok and stuff, and I've seen like some people people who aren't supporters of the league or of these players definitely like be against them getting more money, which is strange to me. And I think, first of all, before you have an opinion on something, I definitely think you should be informed on it, do your research. And I'm not talking about AI. Let's not do that. Really dig into the information, do the research, and then form your opinions. I'm not here to push my opinion on you or anything like that, but I definitely do think it's something that, if you do want to support this league and you support these players, it's something you should be knowledgeable on. So I'm still getting knowledgeable. I just found out what percentage the players are being paid from, and, how that affects the salary cap, and how they're working on trying to negotiate softening that cap, and, amongst other things. So, and also I think it is important that we acknowledge that it's not just the commissioner of the WNBA who's like, in these rooms. Like, a lot of this has to do with owners. It's a very big conversation. It's very important. And at the same time that all of that is happening, Unrivaled is doing some really great things. They're assigning college players to NIL deals. So if you're interested in hearing more about that, I'll link an article below. I'll also link an article or something of the sort, different interviews for the CBA information and everything. And I'm trying to think, is there anything else I need to say here? At the end of the day, I stand with the players. They work hard, and, they can go out there and compete, and they deserve more than what they're getting. So yeah, I'm gonna leave with that. All right, All-Star Weekend. I can't talk about it without talking about the StudBudz, who are Courtney Williams and Atisha Heidemann. They did a really great job this weekend. I watched StudBudz not really at the beginning because I don't remember what I was doing that day, but like I didn't start during the day, but like I definitely was like, I was locked in and watching it by the nighttime when they went out to the first party. But I feel like they just did something really unique at a time when it was needed the most. I think, with the CBA negotiations going on, it was really cool to kind of see players kind of put their brand and their marketing in their own hands, and to see how much success they had from just being themselves and, just giving fans a behind the scenes look of what All-Star Weekend looks like. It was really special, and I really enjoyed that. And I feel like it couldn't have come at a better time, especially also with Unrivaled announcing some NIL deals that they've done with college players, and announcing that I think their prize money went from $50,000 per player to $100,000 per player. So it's going to be even more competitive this next season. They announced some other players that will be joining as well. So I don't know. I think this was just really great and fun. And I think so many of the players are personable, and it was cool to kind of, get to see what goes on behind the scenes with interviewing and doing media and, all-star practice, and also just seeing the vets and younger players like rookies or second year players, getting tips from the vets on how to improve their game, and just, playing one-on-one, like kind of seeing things that we don't typically see. So it was really cool, and they just have such a great camaraderie amongst them also. And I know that was kind of a big topic last season that, the players don't like each other, but so many of these players have played with each other coming up in AAU or for Team USA, or maybe they played together in college, and just the best of the best. They've all played together in some capacity at some point, or all will play with each other at some point. So, I think that this weekend also helped kind of debunk some things that people had been saying about the league and about these players. I don't know, there's just like a lot of understanding amongst them as well, because obviously they're all players, so they understand what each other's going through, and maybe, you know, some people may not be able to relate exactly in the same way as others to some of the situations that some of the players are going through. But, you know, it's really nice to know that they have each other's backs, and, you know, it's nice to know that so many players, you know, kind of give like big sister, or like, you know, everybody's taken care of in a sense. And that was really cool to see. And obviously the StudBudz, like, they were on WNBA Countdown. They were doing interviews about how everything came to be, and it was just really cool. They went out and they partied and all this stuff, and people have, you know, their think pieces about that. But I'm just happy that everybody had a good time, and it was just really cool to kind of, again, see the behind the scenes of everything. I don't know if it'll be the same next year. I don't even know if you can really top this. I think this might be one of those things where it's like, you know, it happened and it was really, really great. And maybe forever you try to chase that same thing, but you're just never able to. Or maybe it could be one of those things where every year it just gets better and better. Regardless, it was really cool to see. And, you know, I think some really important conversations are going to be had about players and their marketability. So, you know, shout out to the StudBudz. Anyways, first things first, the skills challenge. That was won by Natasha Cloud. She did a really great job. Like, it was by like she won by like, I think like 0.2 seconds or something, like 0.3 seconds. I don't know, but she got that layup off in time. And I think the people who participated in that were like Courtney Williams, Skylar Diggins-Smith, Erica Wheeler, and Alicia Gray. I don't think there was anybody else, but they did a really great job. I know I'm not a professional athlete anyways, so I doubt that I could have completed the skill challenge in the time that they did or in that fashion, but they did a really great job, and it was a really fun time watching. Next up, we have the 3-point contest, and Sabrina, Sonia, Kelsey, Lexi, and Alicia Gray participated in that one. It ended up coming down to Alicia Gray and Sabrina ended up winning. And then she also split the money with Sonia because, you know, she was like, she's a rookie, and, you know, I can understand it being super nerve-wracking to, you know, come out and participate in the 3-point contest. So that was really cool of Sabrina, but it was just really, again, it was just really cool to kind of see vets like kind of taking rookies under their wing like that. And, you know, it was their first All-Star game, her and Kiki and Paige. And I don't know, this was just really awesome. And also to see like the behind the scenes of everything, you know, seeing the players rooting for each other on the bench. It was just a really cool scenario and a situation. So shout out to the winners of those two things. Now we'll get into the All-Star game. Team Collier won. That 4-point shot, it came through. It was really cool, again, to see the behind the scenes of that with everybody on the bench. And, you know, it was just a really fun environment. You could tell, like, through even like the ESPN interviews, which I thought were super fun. I really enjoy in-game interviews. I know people don't, but I just think they're like really off the wall, extremely camp situation to like hear what the coaches think and what they think that their team needs to improve on. And then also to just have like different players mic'd up and, you know, kind of talking and, you know, maybe trash talking here and there from Kelsey Plum. But it was really cool and super fun. And I don't even have more words than cool, super fun, awesome. It was just a really great weekend. And if you weren't able to see any of the things that I've just said, I'm so sorry to you, because I don't really know if anything will ever match that or beat that experience. It was so fun. And I'm happy that I was able to, you know, just like get like a little peek inside. It was super fun. But yeah, shout out to the StudBudz. Shout out to obviously the WNBA. And shout out to the players. The league would be nothing without you. I hope you guys get paid. You deserve that money. Without further ado, let's get into the post All-Star game push and what every team needs to do to make it there. Some of them won't make it there. Okay, let's get into it. Oh yeah, also, the StudBudz, I have to get this off. My favorite thing, and please feel free to tell me what your favorite part of the StudBudz live stream was, because mine personally was, and I know people will disagree, but them going to the Sports Illustrated party and Diplo was the DJ there, people were literally leaving the event and they were like, the music is like oons, you don't want that, like it's bad, the music is bad, we're about to leave. And Courtney was like, no, turn around, you guys act like it's crazy, like we're about to go in here and ask the DJ to play some better music. And so, you know, they get past the little counter where they had to check in or whatever, and Courtney goes up to Diplo, who was the DJ at the event, and she was like, "We need you to play some better music. We need you to play some music that we can shake our ass to. Like, we need that." And so Diplo, being the man that he is, he did, and I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. Some of the music was still it was a little off here and there. It was a little off, but I thought it was just really fun and cool to kind of see them, just like their vibe and their aura, their energy. You can tell that it really just like brings up the people around them. And so many of their teammates at the All-Star game, only had, and even the coach as well, Coach Reeves, had nothing but nice things to say about them and their energy, and, how they uplift each other, and how they're always just like, they brighten rooms that they go into. And it was just really nice to know that that's like a genuine thing. It's not just a thing that they're, putting on for cameras or anything. Like, they're really like that. And it was just fun and awesome. And I'm happy that I was there. Shout out to Diplo in the back half, because in the front half, the music wasn't cooking, but you got them there. You got them there. Now, getting into the post All-Star game push, we're going to start with the Lynx because they're my favorite team. And then we'll just work our way down. Okay. So for the Lynx, I definitely think they're going to be in the championship this year. That's my hope. But also, I'm going to go ahead and put it out into the universe. The Lynx are going to the championship this year, and they will be winning. But here are some things that I think they need to work on. And then, the keys to their playoff push. So some problem areas they've had, definitely starting games off slow. Everybody always says basketball is a game of runs, which obviously very true. But I think that sometimes they kind of rely a lot on their run that comes typically at the end of the third quarter, at the beginning of the fourth, to kind of bail them out for, poor possessions or poor offensive play throughout the first half of the game. So I think a key to the playoff push would be starting games aggressively. And they did that like the last game or two that they had. They did it in their last game that they had against the Sky, and then also in their game versus the Mercury. They played very well throughout the entirety of the game. So I thought that was really great. Then their other problem area, I'm going to say, is their defense sometimes. When it's great, it's great. But sometimes you can kind of tell where, somebody's struggling a little bit on their switches, or, not really being where they need to be at times. And, typically other teammates will kind of bail them out a little bit, but there are moments of slippage like that. So I think making sure that, you keep your defense consistent is going to be very important, especially because typically when their defense is a little questionable at times, or for like maybe a quarter or two, that's usually where you'll see that they lost a game. And then I'm going to say shot selection, but I'm going to get into that a little bit more later. And then I'm going to say their offense, they're doing better. A lot of the guards are shooting a little bit more. They're being a little bit more aggressive, but I'm going to judge them on the full body of work for pre-All-Star break. And I'll say that their offense has definitely been a thing that's gotten them in trouble, especially because they rely a lot on Nafisa Collier. And if she's not shooting well, and if Courtney isn't really shooting well, there's not really anybody else to bail them out. And Atlanta Smith, she does what she can, but there's only so much she can do. So I'm going to say those are the key areas right now that I think they need to work on. So then here are the keys to the playoff push, which they really don't even need me to say nothing because they got it together and they're the number one team in the league, but I don't want us to get complacent. So I'm going to say this, okay? First of all, like I said before, starting games off aggressively. I also think, they need to make sure they're getting their shooters going earlier on in games. Instead of, kind of passing the ball later on when certain shots aren't falling and then like expecting them to knock down shots. So I think activating shooters early is going to be very important. I've heard the coaches say this a lot, so I'm going to piggyback off of that. But make sure they're moving the ball and not letting it stick. That's usually another reason why they lose games. It's just kind of not having the best ball movement. So hopefully they keep doing what they did these past two games they won, and we can keep it pushing like that. So I'm going to do what every player needs to do from this team. Every team not getting this. This is just because this is my favorite team and I know the most about them. Okay, so Bridget Carlton, she's been very aggressive the past few games, but I think the commentators mentioned that Coach Reeves had a talk with her about, not getting stuck in the cutting mindset and being more aggressive, looking for her shot, and she's done that a lot the past 3 games. Like, the shots might not be falling. At least they weren't falling like the first of the three last ones, but they started falling the last 2. So we okay. But I think if they can really, like, you know, get her knocking her shots down and her being more aggressive offensively, they're definitely not going to have a problem, you know, making their way to the playoffs. Kayla McBride, she's been a lot more aggressive recently. I think the box score has shown that she's been scoring, but as a whole, like, until the last 2 to 3 games throughout the pre-All-Star break, she hasn't felt like as explosive offensively as she has in previous seasons, but I do think that that's turning around. So shout out to Kayla McBride. Then we have Alana Smith. I think she's great with stretching the floor. Obviously, she offers you a lot on defense, and she puts her body on the line a lot. I appreciate that she can hit threes and be an offensive threat, and at the same time, I think sometimes the offense relies on her a lot to make those shots, and I just don't think that that's very sustainable, just because she's a great defensive player, and so you guys should definitely be using her for that. But also, I think there are so many capable guards on this team, from Diamond Miller and Kayla McBride and Bridget's a forward, but still Courtney. Like, there are a lot of people who can stretch the floor and shoot. And I think, you know, I don't want them to, like, fall too in love with just because she can shoot the 3 and stretch the floor, that's how she should always be used offensively. So they've done a good job of, like, not relying on her, like, too much to do that in the past 2 games. So just keep doing that, and I think y'all got it. Nafisa, she's been really great, like, all season. There have been, like, a few games, very, very few, very sparse here and there when, you know, her shot isn't falling. But I think what happened most recently with the Mercury, she showed up well on defense, and the rest of the team made up for that offense, you know, being aggressive. So it wasn't, like, all on her shoulders to do that. And I think, obviously, 100%, that's how you want them to play. And that's really all I've wanted for them, like, in a general sense. So I'm honestly pleased with how the team looks. And then, obviously, if they can kind of, like, clean it up a little bit, I'll be happy with it. Next, we have Courtney. I've been a little hard on Courtney recently. Like, obviously, she's a top guard in the league, all-star guard. Nights when her shot is falling, like, things are really great and amazing. And back to the shot selection thing, I think when she makes tough contested shots, it's amazing, right? Like, it's like, oh my gosh, how does she make that? It's, oh my gosh, she's amazing. How does she do that? She's a magician. But when those shots aren't falling and she still takes them, is kind of where they have, or where the problems arise to me. And obviously, shooters shoot, and you want them to be confident and take tough shots. But I think the real key for them, like, winning a championship, is going to be whether or not Courtney can kind of show a little bit of restraint, and when her shots aren't falling, choose to take the easy open shots and look to get other people open instead of taking, like, those tough contested shots. Because, again, yes, if she's making them, oh my gosh, amazing, that's great. But also, like, early on, if you notice they're not falling, like, don't feel free to take some easy stuff, you know, like, go and get in the paint, like, attack the rim, maybe get some other people open, shoot some mid-ranges. That's where she lives at. So I would be more pleased with that. And I think as long as she does that, I think they'll be in a good position. She always gives, like, great energy, and she just has a deep bag. We saw that in the finals last year. And that was one of the things that kind of got us in trouble, because she used so much energy and exerted so much energy, like, in the game before the final game, that she didn't have enough that last game, and there was no help offensively from anybody else. So I'm nervous, but we want her to be confident in her abilities. So definitely keep shooting it. But, you know, obviously, like, if it's not going pretty early on, let's, like, calm it down a little bit, just a little. Anyways, lastly, my key to the playoff push for them is going to be leaning on the second unit. So that's Antisha Heidemann, Diamond Miller, Jessica Shepard, and Klindakova. I think that's her name. I don't know the beginning. It's like Maria Klindakova or something like that. Shout out to that lady. I don't know if I spelled your name right. I tried to look it up first, because I'm all about getting names right, but your name didn't come up on the little WNBA where they, like, say the name, the little pronunciation, that didn't come up. So that's my apologies if I said it wrong. Anyways, but I feel like a lot of times when the starters aren't playing well, a lot of those players that I named, like they'll come off the bench and they'll put them back in the game. So I think it's going to be really important for them to really show up and for them to kind of lean on them like during the season. That way, if they need to lean on them in the playoffs, they'll be ready to play. Anyways, next up we have the Mercury. For the last 10 games, they've been 7-3. They've honestly been playing really well. I think this team could definitely win a championship. And that's scary to me because this team looked not, I'm not going to say sorry last season, but like they looked sorry adjacent. Anyways, they've looked really great all season. And as they get healthier, I think this team just becomes more and more like frightening. Like I think that's an opponent that I'd be afraid to play fully healthy. That's an opponent I'm afraid to play right now. So I think, as time goes and they get more healthy, it's going to be very interesting. I do want to shout out Sammy Whitcomb for the 36-point game. I think it was 36 points that she had against the Wings last week. Shout out to that lady. She can be kind of a streaky shooter at times. So, she came up big that night though, because I think that was like the first night Saw 2 was out and they didn't have DeWanna Bonner yet. So Sammy came in there, or did they? I don't remember. Anyways, it don't matter. Sammy came in there and she shot lights out and they blew them out that game. I honestly felt bad for them. I cut the game off early because I was like, I don't need to see that. I was actually on live and people were like, Tori, you can keep watching. And I was like, I actually don't need to. Because I think at halftime it was still kind of close. But I was like, I actually don't need to see that. I know what's going to happen here. And they cooked them. Poor things. Love them though. Shout out to the Dallas Wings. Anyways, some problem areas they have. The only real problem I find with this team is like something that's out of their control, which is just health and rough shooting nights, which I don't think are going to be happening often enough for it to be a concern. And also, it's like, even if shooters hypothetically are struggling, I feel like they have so much talent on the team that won't matter. Like right now, them having like an off shooting night or something, or like, struggling to kind of get their offense going, that's more noticeable because you don't have Saw 2 or Kalia Copper. And at the end, you don't have a Monica Koamakani. So once they're healthy, again, I think this is going to be a very scary team. Like they already look scary right now. But this is definitely a dangerous team, especially with Alyssa Thomas's playmaking and honestly just her ability to finish through contact. They have a lot of talent on this team, and I'm afraid. I'm not even gonna lie. There are players that can get to the free throw line and, knock down their shots. DeWanna Bonner has come in and played very well. It's like she hasn't missed a beat. You would think that she's been playing with the team all season, but I think I'm honestly like more so concerned about other teams because it's like once they are fully healthy, they have the personnel to really like knock down threes. And I think it's going to be hard for defenses to stop them because they also have capable finishers who can take contact. So it's like even if you eliminate the three, if they're still able to get into the paint and do what they want, it doesn't even really matter. So this is going to be very interesting to watch them as they're getting healthier, the different matchups, and then also to watch them through the playoffs. They're definitely a team that I'm afraid of for my team. So good luck to whoever has to play them first in the playoffs. I hope it's not my team. I don't think it's going to be them, but like, oh my God, I'm kind of nervous. Anyways, their keys to a playoff push is just a healthy roster in my mind. And also just to continue having trust in shooters and to continue playing good defense. They don't really have much of anything to work on, really. Anyways, moving on to the Liberty. For the last 10 games, they've been 5-5. Their problem areas, shot selection, I'm going to say. I don't always love the shot selection from everybody. I think it's different if like Sabrina, and even sometimes Sabrina, I'm not even going to give Sabrina a pass. Sometimes the shot selection just be bad in a general sense. But usually they're making and taking open shots, or they're moving the ball around to get open shots. I think sometimes they get a little bit complacent with Like they'll have a lead or something. I've noticed that they do this. They'll have a lead, or maybe they'll go on a run, and like once the run is over and they kind of have a lead, they'll kind of just start throwing up anything. And it's like, whoa. It's like they'll be doing heat checks left and right. And it's like, we don't need to be doing that. We need to be doing that. I do think they do a great job getting out of transition, but I think they have to be a little bit careful with the whole lead situation and going on runs. But outside of that, I don't even really know that they have any problem areas. They just don't really look whole right now. But I think that's just like Jonquel Jones is gone and has been gone for a good bit of the season. And so hopefully after the All-Star break, we'll see her and this team will, really look like itself, and it can be back to, figuring out how to gel and everything like that. But the keys to the playoff push are Jonquel Jones, good defense, and just not getting complacent with leads. For the Storm, the last 10 games, they've gone 6-4. I don't know. For the problem areas, they really only have like one. And I think it really just has to do with the fatigue. And then there are also just like some games where they lose, and I kind of get confused. They kind of just like, in the fourth quarter, I don't know what happened sometimes. There's like some defensive lapses here and there, and sometimes the offense goes a little bit cold. So I think that those are only, but like those things kind of all have to do with the fatigue. So it's kind of just like, I think you have to lean on your bench more, but I'm not really like moved by the bench that much. So I think it's really just going to come from the starters and what they have in the tank. Alicia Clark has kind of struggled a bit coming back and playing offense. And I've heard, because I haven't really watched too many Storm games recently, but people are saying Tiffany Mitchell has been decent. Zaya Cook has had her time off the bench. Dominique Malonga has also. I think this team would just look different with Jordan Horston available. And so with that knowledge, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's just, I know that they're in a win now situation. So I'm interested to see what happens. I think obviously, like I said, they're a very talented team. It's just that I don't know. I don't know how we finish off the season, and I think however you finish off the season is definitely going to be an indicator of like the playoffs. So it's kind of like, if I'm hoping that the break has given them like a little bit of, time to rest and everything, but it's like there's a decent amount of games left, and then right after that it's into playoff mode. And so it's going to be like, how is your body ready for the playoffs? Can you sustain it? Is the offense going to be, ready? I don't know. But I do think that if they are going to be here and make a deeper playoff run, they're going to have to finish games stronger, and just remain consistent on defense and lean on their bench a little bit to like as much as you can. But I definitely am a little bit concerned about the fatigue thing. But I'm hoping that, maybe as the season continues to wrap up and finish after the break, maybe the starters won't have to play as many minutes, like maybe the bench can play a little bit more, and maybe it's giving like starters play like decent amount of minutes in the first and fourth, but maybe they get a little bit more break time. I don't know what we do here. But when I think about the Storm going up against the Lynx or the Mercury or the Liberty in, like a 7-game series, I don't see it. I don't really see it right now. I don't really see it. It's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot. They're gonna have to be locked in. Everybody's gonna have to be at 100%. And that's all I'll say there. But I definitely do think that the Storm, they could make a deep playoff run. I don't know that I see them like in the championship though. That's just me though. Prove me wrong, okay? Anyways, next up we have the Dream. For the last 10 games, they've gone 5-5 as well. Some problem areas. I'm going to go based off the last game. The last game I saw from them was against the Fever, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but I caught the end of it. And even I think there was another game that they lost, and I caught the end of it, and they just weren't able to pull it out. But I think it's not that I think that this is a habit, But I feel like at the end of the game, without Ryan Howard to kind of calm some things down, they kind of played a little bit desperately. And they were kind of just like throwing up some shots. And it was kind of like, because I think they had it within like 5 or 6 points, or maybe it was 3. I don't know. It was really close. But I was like, if they take care of the ball and they make the right decisions on these possessions, they'll be fine. And, some ill-advised shots were taken here and there. And again, I don't think that that's like a habit, but I do think that they need Ryan Howard at times to kind of be like that calming person on offense a little bit to help them kind of slow it down. But I do think Jordan Canada does a great job of, like being a point guard and everything. I think, Alicia Gray has kind of struggled a little bit. So I'm going to say this. Keys to the playoff push are going to be getting Ryan Howard healthy, because I do think that with Ryan healthy and playing this style of basketball, they can definitely make like a deeper playoff push than they did last year. I'm going to say Alicia Gray is definitely going to be important. She's kind of gone through like a little bit of a shooting slump. So hopefully after the break, she'll kind of be back and, giving that same amount, giving that same performance that we were seeing previously. Then Bree Jones and Brittany Griner staying out of foul trouble is going to be very important. I know Bree Jones fouled out of the Fever game, and I think it was at the beginning of the fourth quarter. So at that point, it was kind of like, we need Bree Jones bad. So you need her offense and you need her defense. So it's going to be interesting. If they can get that going, defending without fouling, they're going to be okay. And then I think that Naz Hillmon's going to be a really important, 6-man off the bench. So I'm interested to see what happens there with the Dream. I definitely think they have enough talent to make it deep in the playoffs. It's really just going to be about, making the right decisions later on in games and taking care of the ball. That's what I'm going to say. Good luck to the Dream. Next up, we have the Fever. For their last 10, they've gone 6-4. Problem areas, I think I'm just going to go with not sharing the ball, because I think that that's kind of been like the thing that kind of sets them apart when it comes to winning games and losing games. So my keys to the push are going to be making sure that the post is being fed the ball, because a lot of times when the team does win, it's when Aaliyah Boston or Natasha Howard are playing very well. There was a game they played. I don't know who it was against. I don't remember if it was against the Dream or if it was against somebody else. Oh no, it was against Dallas. Damn. It was against Dallas, but I think they had 5 players in double figures. That was a really great game for them. Everybody was sharing the ball well. So that's going to be very important. And I think also feeding the post and sharing the ball also helps with, getting shooters open, because so many people are focusing on the post that it kind of gives shooters space. I think also getting Caitlin to a point where she, can manage her pain with her injury. I know Lisa Leslie said that she's had a groin injury before, and it's just one of those things that lingers, and it's very early in her career, and they need her for the playoffs. So hopefully whenever she comes back, she's playing, first of all, less minutes to start, especially she's playing less minutes when you guys are up 20. Because I think her playing during games where, the you guys are clearly about to win, I don't feel like that was a great decision. And, I don't know. I know that she really wants to play and she is very competitive and she wants to compete. But I think long term, it's very important that, she's just taken care of and squared away. And if that means that, there might be an earlier playoff exit than was expected, that just is what it is. But yeah, I think she's definitely obviously going to be a key piece to them making a playoff push, but it can only happen if she's healthy. And then I'm going to say continuing to push the ball in transition and getting stops has really been great for them so far when it comes to wins. So as long as they keep, getting out in transition, I think they got it. I think they can win a lot of their games in the back half of this season. So good luck to the Fever. Hope everything works out for y'all. Next up, we have the Valkyries. Last 10 games, they've gone 4-6. They've been away from home, okay? Their problem areas, definitely taking care of the ball. The turnovers, they be kind of bad sometimes. But I will say they play really great defense. So keys to their continued playoff push, I'm going to say continue playing good team defense. That has always, like, they play some defense out of their minds. Like, they play amazing. They're hustle players. They all are the first ones on the floor. If there's like a ball rolling away, like, they put their bodies on the line to win games. And obviously that's super admirable from these players. And then keep shooting confidently. I don't really think that this team they don't need much. I think they play pretty decent basketball. It's just going to be about, taking care of the ball and, maybe just getting some consistency out of players. Because I know sometimes it's like, oh, a player will have like 20 points and then another game they'll have like 8 or 5. So I think we'll see what happens. I think they've been looking pretty decent. They try their best to stay in games. The last game they lost was like, it was on free throws. So that one, that almost don't even count for real. But shout out to the Valkyries. You guys are playing really great. And Coach Nakase is probably going to get Coach of the Year because what she's done over there has been really amazing. And nobody's topping that performance, I fear. But good luck to the Valkyries. I think they're definitely going to the playoffs. Yeah, I think they're going to the playoffs. They're probably not going to get that far, but like they're going to the playoffs for sure, I think. We hope. Next up, we have the Aces. For their last 10 games, they've gone 6-4. Keys to the push, because I have already talked about the things they've done wrong. So I'm not even gonna do too much on them no more. Keys to the push, I think, is gonna be Jackie continuing to be aggressive. The past few games they've played, she's had some good stat lines. So if Jackie can keep being aggressive and helping Asia out scoring wise, I think they're gonna be in good shape. Asia obviously just keeps doing what she does. For Chelsea, I think I would really like to see her make the right play. It might not always be like the flashiest one, but I think sometimes they just need things to be kept simple. And I think that, maybe that would kind of help with, the offense and everything. But I don't know. I think there just needs to kind of be a lot of things that happen in the offseason for this team. And then hopefully next season also, I would really love to see some development and trust from the bench, whoever they end up getting for the bench. And then hopefully they can keep building on whatever bench they get next year. I think they really need that. They really need some chemistry and, they need some people who can come off the bench and provide them something. So hopefully they're able to get that. I think Alyssa Smith again was a good pickup. I don't know if it was like a pickup worthy of a first round pick, but a good pickup nonetheless. Now you have somebody next to Asia who can score and everything. And then you have Kia coming off the bench and, getting some rebounds and everything. So the team, they might make the playoffs. I wouldn't be upset if the sky kind of came up on them. I wouldn't be mad at that. But, the Aces, though. They're going to be there. They're not going to do anything, but they're going to be there, though. They're going to be there. Next up, we have the Sky. For the last 10 games, they've gone 4-6. Honestly, the wins they've gotten have been, they've really, I'm going to give them their props, okay? I'm not even going to touch on their problems because that's not even important right now. I'm going to give them their props only. Keys to the push, I think, are going to be keep playing through Angel and letting her create for others. Obviously, we've seen that worked very well. It worked on Unrivaled, and it can work here, and it has been working. And then I think there was a game they played without Angel because she was out for a leg injury. Y'all just need to. They got blown out too, so y'all. I don't know what y'all need to do, but y'all kind of have to get it together. The front office for the Sky, y'all are just gonna have to do better. Because I don't know who's going over to the Sky. I really don't. I'm kind of really concerned for y'all. But you guys looked good when you played the Lynx. I don't remember if there was, I'm pretty sure you guys played somebody else too, but I can't even fathom in my mind who that was. But when you guys played the Lynx though, you guys looked really good. The ball movement was great. The defense was good. I don't know. It honestly hurt me to see my team go out like that because I was like, damn, Damn, but I felt like if they lost that game, they needed to be shamed. Because they played sorry that day. They played so sorry. But that was a wake-up call for them. So I appreciate you, Chicago, for waking my team up. Thank you. Much love. Anyways, they had a bad game without her, like I said. But Angel's the difference maker for sure. She's gone on an insane run. Shout out to Angel for the 2K cover. Shout out to her for those shoes. Shout out to, the trademarked me bound situation. Angel's on top right now. Who's stopping her? Black women win. Black women up 20,000 right now. Anyways, moving on. I also think, as if the Sky can keep getting their guards to knock down shots, they're going to be okay. So good luck to the Chicago Sky. That's all I have to say. Okay, next up we have the Mystics. For the last 10 games, they've gone 6-4. I'm going to give them their props because honestly, I feel like usually they're always in games. Like it's rare. It's rare that they just like get blown out by like 15 or 20 points. It has to be like a really great team for that to happen. But even when they play really great teams, they're like always in it. Their coach is just instilling a lot of confidence in the players. So my props to them and my keys to their playoff push, if that's something that they want. I don't know, girl. But just continue being gritty. I love the post players they have. I think obviously those are going to be the keys to winning games, especially because the league is just so post heavy right now. So I think what I love the most about the team is just how many bigs they have, from Shakira Austin and Aaliyah Edwards, Kiki. Who else be over there? Who else be down there in the paint? Steph Dolson, Emily Inksler. They have a lot of like options to go to, and to me everybody is versatile. So it's just one of those things where if one person's struggling a little bit or is in foul trouble or just can't get their offense going, somebody else immediately can be plugged in and they go. And I really like that. They always have somebody who can fill in the gaps. So shout out to the Mystics. I hope, as the years go on, like you guys are able to really build something. But I think by next season, this is going to be like a really great team and really fun to watch. So shout out to the Mystics for all you've done. Also, obviously Brittany Sykes does a lot for the team as well. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this team comes along as the seasons go. Next up, we have the Wings. For the last 10 games, they've gone 4-6. It's so tragic. Problem areas. I'm not even going to get into the problem areas. I'm not even going to get into that. Getting healthy, I think, would be like really, really great. They have some injuries. I will say I think the injuries have kind of helped them kind of, realize that they can play through the young players. I think the last game they had was against the Fever, so that was unfortunate, but I was honestly happy that a lot of people weren't like reading too much into that. It's very obvious that the Wings, they don't have a great roster. I don't know what like happened there, or like I don't know what's going on. Kurt Miller came out and said that, they're going to stick with what they got. They don't care about the outside noise, any of that stuff. The team isn't great. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that they are. Obviously, they have some great young talent. I think it's going to be about building around that talent next year and making sure that you're filling the holes. I'm also not going to speculate on anything else going on with that team. So I will say, to me, though, I felt like getting rid of LT, that was kind of, I understand a new GM comes in and you want to, put in some new people, but I feel like Latricia Trammell was a great coach. Like, one thing you can't say last year was that like the Dallas were like poorly coached, because they definitely were not. That was just like a health situation. And, that's really just what that came down to last year. And I think if she were in the position this year to be coaching the Wings, I think we kind of be looking at a different situation. I'm not saying that it would be like absolutely perfect, because they were a team that struggled last season, but I will say that I think the coaching would have been a little bit better. And I enjoyed watching Dallas play last year. Like, this year, it's kind of like, I'm not going to say unwatchable, but something adjacent to that. No shade. And I'm saying no shade. I know that typically gives shade when you say no shade, but like I really mean that. Like I don't even know. Like sometimes I look at the roster and it doesn't even make sense. Like it has holes in it. They struggle offensively, and they're figuring things out. Like they're working with what they have, but next season there definitely need to be some moves made in the offseason, in free agency. They need to get lock in. They need to do something about that. Lastly, we have the Sun. For the last 10 games, they've gone 1-9. Okay, here's the thing. I like the Sun. It's strange because I see the Sun and then like you put that next to like Dallas. And Dallas is so great because they have a JJ Quinterly and Isaiah James and Paige, and they have Louisa, and they have Lee Yaroo, and that is so great. But I don't like when I watch the Sun, I don't know, like something inside of me just like it feels warm. Like they're losing games, yes, but when I watch their games, I understand what's supposed to be happening here. Like, and because we get flashes of that, I see the vision for this team, and I think some people like watch the games, they just don't get it. They're like, oh, the Sun suck, blah, blah, blah. They don't. Like, they're just like super young. And I don't know, again, I don't know what the difference is between, actually, that might be the difference between the two, is that the Sun are like super young. And then like Dallas kind of has like that mix of like experienced veteran players. And, the Sun have they have a couple vets, but like it's mostly like the young people just finding their confidence and figuring out how to play together. And I don't know, with Dallas, it's kind of just like a different vibe. It's not the same. I would expect it to be the same because they're kind of working through the same kind of issues of like, oh, the team's just really young. They don't have a ton to like work with and move with. But like the Sun, you have Naya, who's an amazing two-way player. She's been a lot more aggressive offensively, which has been really great. Then you have JC. She's shooting well. Like her accuracy has been great. She's increasing her confidence in taking shots. And I've really enjoyed seeing that. And JC is also a great facilitator. I've seen her make some passes and get some assists to some of the other players. And her court vision is really improving. I think when Anissa Morrow's shot starts falling consistently, and if Olivia Nelson-Ododa can kind of get into her Tina Charles bag in terms of like footwork and, just like being like a really, really threatening player in the paint, I think this is going to be a really great team. And then you have Lacan coming in, and she's looked really great for them, especially later on in games defensively. And then you have Marina, who will hopefully be joining the team soon. I think this team, I can see it coming together, and I'm honestly really excited for them. I think it's going to be really great, in the future. And once they're able to figure those things out, I think this is going to be, a really great team. And I'm excited to see, who they pick up in the draft and everything like that. So when the Sun are up good, remember that I was with them when they were down. Remember that. Anyways, that's what I'm going to leave you guys with. Yeah, I'm going to be back later this week. My friend actually has, her birthday is on Saturday, so I'm probably going to try my best to record this episode on Friday night and then have it to you guys by Saturday afternoon. And yeah, if all things go well this week, I will have watched all the games and everything, and the episode will be out to you guys. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Please feel free to share your thoughts about teams, what you want to see from other teams and everything like that. But yeah, I'll be back next week, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.